The waiting is the hardest part. Would you say that's true, Mike Lubie Lubitz? Welcome to another edition of Defo and Five. The waiting is the hardest part. I'm not the biggest Tom Petty fan. I don't mind Tom Petty. I think he's good. Obviously, had a lot of talent, had a lot of influence. Seemed to have his head in the right place, his heart in the right place, with all the different things he did from a business standpoint. Remember when he got robbed of about I don't know some ridiculous amount of money worth of guitars? And he said, "Well, you know what? This stuff happens." He was a real California, surfer type. And I don't know if he was a surfer type, but hippy dippy type from California, and he had the right mentality. And he said, actually, after he got robbed, I mean, his house gets robbed, they steal a bunch of guitars worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and he says, I just hope the people, it helps them,
Yeah,
whatever it is that they do with the money. That's a good attitude, man. That is a good approach. I guess if you have the money, I mean, you might be a little bit embittered, Louis, if something like that happened to you. At this point, it would exceed anything that was even, near my net worth. So I would be screaming mad. But Tom Petty, good guy. But the waiting is the hardest part, is it not, Mike Louie Lubitz? Here we are. It's Tuesday already. We're on Defo on 5 on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, which is largely, I mean, just almost fundamentally formulated by people that are all over the Heat Nation. And we're still waiting another day for the opening round of the playoffs, or opening round of the next series,
yes.
which is the Eastern Conference Finals. Everybody is predicting, Luby, an annihilation. Not an annihilation necessarily. They figure the Heat are going to be there. I was looking at a panel of 8 experts, and their predictions. And you know our theory, and it's probably true. If you could book the media's action, you would be a rich man today. Rich woman, rich man. I mean, you would have plenty of money if you could book the media's action. Certainly, we have been dead wrong about a lot of things on this program. In fact, we majored in dead wrong. And I don't know that we're dead wrong about this. I do see the Celtics winning the series. I hate to say it, but that puts me in not only the majority, but the unanimous position that was taken by the people on the CBS Sportsline poll. 8 experts polled and given their opinion on the Celtics Heat series. Of the 8, nobody had the Miami Heat. Not one single person. You can get a price too if you bet the Heat in certain spots here. Now the Heat, believe it or not, are minus. The Celtics are minus 550. The Heat are plus 400 in this series. You get 4-1 if you think the Heat are going to win this series. What do you think, Libby? Would you take that? Would you pull a stick out of your pocket, hide it from Shirley, and say, and she says, "What happened to that 100 you had in your wallet, Michael? I need to go to the grocery store. I'm ready to go." And you said, I don't know, honey. I don't know what happened to it. I didn't have it. And it turned out you gave it to your bookmaker because you wanted $100 on the Heat. You would get $400 back if they win the series. Is that worth it? I mean, is it worth the risk of the 100 to win 400? Do you have that little faith in the Heat that you wouldn't even take 4-1? What do you think?
Look, if the Heat were full strength, I would, and I think they would. People would be affording them a better shot. Not having Hero and Oladipo. That's one of the things. Oladipo wasn't doing much at the end of the year, but he would be perfect for this series because he's a guy that is really good on defense and can score in spots. You'd be able to match him up against a Marcus Smart and a Jalen Brown because they're undersized guys. Not having him actually matters in this series, and not having Tyler Hero, which is what you're gonna need to be able to score. They would have beat the Knicks in 5 if they had Tyler Hero. Like when they went in those stretches where they couldn't hit a three, Hero would have helped them get a basket. Like this is the series they're really gonna feel it, and that's I think reflected in the picks. People probably pick the Celtics no matter what, but you're seeing a lot of people pick the Celtics in 5, which the Heat are gonna win more than a game, I think. But without a Hero and Oladipo, it's hard for me to see them having a chance at winning. And the Celtics are at full strength. The Celtics have no injuries, have 0 injuries at all. And the Heat, Bam has some kind of a shoulder thing. Butler is dealing again with some kind of an injury, which is what he was dealing with last year. Again, no Hero, which you didn't have last year. And again, no Oladipo, which you didn't really have last year. So we're playing against a full strength team that people already think is better versus a team that's banged up again.
Well, you did have the Celtics lose a couple of games at home in their last series against Philadelphia. They did win a couple of games on the road in Philadelphia, also, including a game 6 when they were facing elimination, and then ran away and hid in game number 7. So the Celtics, vulnerable in spots, but very capable of looking like the strongest team that the Heat will have faced so far, including the Milwaukee Bucks. You have a bunch of propositions here. Here's one that's of interest to me, because obviously Jimmy Butler would have to be the key. You would think normal logic would dictate that
Yes,
Jimmy Butler, if the Heat win the series, Jimmy Butler would be the MVP of the series.
he's
You do get 4-1 on Jimmy Butler, but you get that same 4-1 on the Heat winning the series. So if you think Jimmy Butler is going to be the MVP, why take that 4-1 unless you're doing it in addition to backing your faith in the Miami Heat? You're getting 4-1 in the series. You're thinking, geez, if that happens, then Jimmy Butler is also going to be the MVP. That's 4-1. But what if, Lubie, what if Bam Adebayo wakes up
Yes.
and the Heat win the series, somehow eke it out in 6 games against the Boston Celtics? 6 close, die-hard, hard-fought games. They win it, and turns out that Bam Adebayo really comes to the table, wins the MVP of the series with the Heat winning. You know what the price is on that?
Oh
A
God.
robust 25-1. Are
Yeah.
you willing to go out on a limb, think outside the box, and take 25-1 on Bam Adebayo being the MVP of the series, or are we just flat out fucking crazy?
Because
What do
look,
you
he
think?
played better in this elimination game against the Knicks, and it still was like 23-12. Like that's not winning you an MVP in a conference finals when Tatum's gonna put up some big numbers because the guy that can defend him the best is gonna be a guy in Jimmy Butler that the Heat need offensively. So I don't see any way in hell Bam wins an MVP. Like Bam can play the way we need him to play, which we've seen him play in spots. And I still don't see that being enough to win a conference finals MVP. He would have to average like 30 and 20. And he's never done that. Like maybe he did it like once in his, like he doesn't do that.
Yeah, maybe he averages 20 and 12.
Doesn't do
Butler kind of is a secondary consideration. Heat win the series. Bam Adebayo wins the MVP. This is why FanDuel and DraftKings can sponsor everything, because you're finding ways to throw away your money. I
Yes,
mean,
yes,
you're trying to make up reasons why you should lose your money,
yes.
including stretching Bam Adebayo at 25-1. Very tempting though, because I mean, if it's even slightly out of the ordinary, what happens in the series, which I guess would have to be majorly so,
Yeah, I don't see
since
it.
nobody thinks that the Heat are going to win, and then secondly, the likelihood that Jimmy Butler does not outplay Bam Adebayo in the series and the Heat win, and you're probably dreaming there. Celtics in 5 seems to be one of the more popular bets. Celtics in 5 in this one. Jason Tatum is minus 225 to be the MVP of the series. You have to lay $225 to win 100 if you think Jason Tatum is going to be the MVP, which seems very logical, doesn't it? But you have to think outside the box. The Lakers get underway against the Nuggets tonight.
Nice.
Lakers are 2-1 underdogs in the in this ball game. Anyway, in the series, I don't see the overall series odds on this thing. Let me see here. They don't have the series odds here, but they do have many proposition bets, including you have to lay a lot of points here if you want to go over under. Nikola Jokic, 27 and a hook. Does he get 28 points tonight in the ball
Yes.
game?
I think
Nikola
he's
Jokic.
gonna dominate. I think people who don't pay attention to him now will finally be paying attention to him after this series.
All right. Double double. Does he have a double double? That seems automatic. You have to lay $2,500 to win 100.
Yeah.
5,000 to win 200. 10,000 to win 400 on that one.
Yeah.
Would you do it? Would you take 10 dimes out of your pocket and say double double for Jokic? What happens? He rolls an ankle in the first quarter. Next thing you know, 10,000 up in smoke. That's the
Just
way
how
that
it's-
goes.
yeah, that's how it
Anthony Davis, will he have a double double? You only have to lay 350 to win 100 on that. Anthony Davis, he has to hit 10 points and 10 rebounds. No, is that a gimme, Lubie? Is that one of those things where it's just like a free square? You take it.
The
You got
rebounds, I don't know. I don't know how. If he's matched up against Jokic, then it may be a struggle to rebound because Jokic is going to play a lot of minutes too.
all
Uh,
right.
yeah, I don't know if Davis gets the rebounds.
Davis's over under on rebounds in tonight's game is 13 and a hook. So you would go
Yes,
under
I'd go under.
and no double double. Well, you have some guts here when it comes. Yeah, but you're not a Laker fan. You want to see the Lakers get crushed, don't you?
I mean,
I feel this from you. I do. You don't like the Lakers. They get too much attention. You're tired of watching Sports Center and every story is about the Lakers, and you're sick of me saying don't sleep on the Lakers all season long. So there's a little bit of a bias there on your part. But you see Davis. Other analysis that I'm reading about this series say that Davis is going to dominate
no.
Nikola Jokic. You don't think that's going to happen?
I think this is going to be. It's so funny because they've been a number one seed all year, and they've been to a conference finals before. And he's won multiple MVPs. I think this is going to be the Nuggets coming out party. Like I think this is the series where the people who don't watch basketball. They just watch the stars and the highlights are going to realize, oh shit, now we know why he's won MVPs. Like Jokic, I think is going to dominate. I think he's going to be a friggin' monster in this series,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
think the Lakers are going to be fine. But I don't think. I think that if I really had my druthers, I would take the Nuggets in 5. Like I really,
Denver in 5. Yeah, I was just thinking that. I don't know why, but I was.
people are getting really high on the Lakers, and look, the two of those guys are amazing. And look, they made moves to improve themselves, but they're
The
not.
Hiroshima kid, he turned out to be great. Hashimura.
Reeves
He,
is legit. Reeves isn't just like the white guy that wow,
no,
he's shocking.
he's
Like the
not
guy
Kurt
he was,
Rambis.
he's no, he's legit. He's a ball handler. He can get to the basket. He can
Scores in the clutch, which
dribble.
is a big thing for the Lakers because they often have to depend on other options besides Davis and LeBron. Can't just win with those two guys. D'Angelo Russell has been very good at different times. Has kind of an interesting game that I wasn't as familiar with as I probably should have been because he's been in the league for a while, but he's blended in very well with the Lakers. It just doesn't seem like they have enough firepower, and I really believe this that it's very tough to win in Denver.
Yes.
Very tough, especially under these circumstances with so much at stake. You're not going to get one of those mail-in games by the Denver Nuggets or sort of a lackadaisical effort. Everybody's at their intense best in these kind of ball games. And yeah, I would say your Denver in 5 prediction is probably closer to the truth than the Lakers winning the series. So we'll see what happens with that. I almost made a bet yesterday
Okay.
and I believe is Noah Syndergaard now a Dodger? Noah Syndergaard, the former
Is
Met
he?
pitcher who was then with the Angels, did he end up with the Dodgers? I want to say that he was a starting pitcher for the Dodgers yesterday against the Minnesota Twins, who tossed Pablo Lopez out on the mound. Now Lopez got off to a good start. I haven't followed him so much lately, but I was thinking if ever the Twins were going to win on the road against the LA Dodgers, it would have been with Pablo on the mound. And actually, that wasn't flawed thinking at all. Did he go against Syndergaard yesterday? Was
He
that the
is on the
matchup?
Dodgers. We're gonna start there because that's the first thing I'm
Yeah,
starting.
well, okay. It was Syndergaard against Pablo was the starting matchup, and I'm thinking Syndergaard hasn't been himself, the same for years now,
Years.
and so a very suspect starting assignment there for the Dodgers against Pablo Lopez, who's very capable. So what happens in this game? I almost unloaded on this thing, Louis, and then I started to recommend it to other baseball fans that I know,
As
saying,
you
"Hey, I like a game today. I like the Twins over the Dodgers on the road," and you were getting a price. And sure enough, the Twins go up 7-2 in this ball game. As late as the 7th inning, the Twins were leading 7-2. Guess what happened? And this is why it's easy to understand why a fool and his money are soon and easily parted.
Yeah.
Because, the Dodgers end up winning in 12 innings, 9-8. Imagine how disgusted you would be. You're up 7-2 in the 7th inning with a brilliant piece of logic. Syndergaard, no good anymore. Pablo Lopez, real good starter. It's part of, a very important trade for the Miami Marlins, who now have Louis Arise, who seems to be slumping lately, Lubie. That whole thing about hitting 400 for the season, holy George Brett, that's out the window. As I think he's something like 3 for his last 26. Louis Arise, who can hit. The guy reminds me, he really does. He looks like Rod Carew up there, the way that he handles a bat. Appropriate reference since he came from the Minnesota Twins, as did Carew before I saw him late in his career for many, many ball games while he was hitting for the and leading off for the then California Angels. Rod Carew, and he was at a late stage of his career, but he could still just slap that thing around and handle the bat with such ease and versatility and dexterity, whatever it is, and that's what Arise does. But he's down to like 375 or something, still leading the league by like 50 points in batting average.
That's
The
crazy.
next closest guy, I think, is Acuna of the Braves, and he's hitting like 320. But slumping, and the Marlins now back in action. I still think that was a wise bet yesterday, even though I lost it. Right? That's a good thing when you like the bet, even though you would have lost. Twins, and no one, a lot of people were texting me after that game, lose my number.
Ah,
Because I was heavily recommending the Minnesota Twins in the game yesterday. A couple of other things, unusual things happening in the world of sport. Brandon Marshall wants to come back. Why not just bring back Jerry Rice? If Brandon Marshall wants to come back to the Jets and play with Aaron Rodgers. Are you kidding me?
he's been out of the league like 3, 4 years.
Yeah,
Like
he's been
multiple years.
retired for like 7 years. Yeah, he's been on like Good Morning America,
He was horrendous
100
at the
different
end.
shows. Yeah, and he was a train wreck when he was with the Jets, wasn't he? I mean, wasn't he always popping off and getting into some kind of not necessarily jackpot, but some kind of controversy? Brandon Marshall. Anyway, he wants to come back. That's an interesting thing. Well, what is this story all about? Does it have any legs, Louis? All of these teams, including FSU, that want to defect maybe from the ACC. Have you
And
seen that?
100% has legs. FSU and Clemson,
FSU, Clemson wants to leave. Miami wants to leave. North Carolina State, Virginia Tech. They all went out.
they wanted to leave for a while, FSU and Clemson. The others, I don't know if they thought they could leave.
There's some kind of loophole that looks like it makes that a
It's called
possibility.
grant of rights, where they signed a contract, and they signed it pretty recently, that the contract is for like 30 years or some stupidness.
All right.
So because of that, they can't go anywhere. And what happened was, even though the contract at the time was a decent contract, it pales in comparison to the SEC and now the Big Ten. So the thing is, because of that contract, you can't leave for another conference. Well, the problem is and I heard this a long time ago, and I didn't understand why they weren't trying to exploit this. There's a clause where if half the conference leaves, then there's no conference. If there's no conference, then the grant of right doesn't fucking matter, because a part of them signing the deal is the conference's end is there has to be a conference. Yeah. Yes, I owe you my allegiance, but you have to exist. If you don't exist, then I don't owe you shit. So
there you go.
And I thought about that. I'm like, okay, so why?
It's kind of like when your bookie dies.
Well,
if you don't exist, I don't know you shit. That's the way you put it. Yeah.
Unless there's like the wife's behind it or the cousin, and then there's always someone.
No. Somebody always calls and says, "Hey, yeah, you know that thing you had going with Louis?
Yeah.
Well, I'm Louis now."
So
like, what? What do I owe you? You got to be kidding. Who the hell are you? And the guy shows up and he's a monster.
With this, that isn't the case. There is no cousin or long lost friend that picks up. Like, so I always thought, I'm like, why can't
where are they all going? Where are all these teams going? I mean, like
SEC,
50 teams in the SEC.
SEC, the Big Ten, and the Big 12 is trying to still exist. The Big 12 is holding on for dear life, trying to not, like, even though Texas and Oklahoma are leaving in the next year, the Big 12 doesn't want to let go. So between the Big 12, the Big 10, and the SEC, why couldn't you get 8 teams into those conferences? Like, I didn't see why that wasn't possible. Well, they're figuring it out. That's what they're like, oh shit, we can just have 8 leave. Then there's only, I think 8. Is there 16 in the 8? I don't even know if there's 16.
Who knows, man? I mean, there's more teams in the ACC than there is in the NBA. It's unbelievable. All right, well, we'll see what happens with that story, but it was kind of interesting. As you would have thought they would want to solidify the ACC more so than defect, but that's the way college sports is going right now. Helter skelter, Lubie. All right, the waiting is the hardest part. One more day. We got to wait for the Heat to get underway against the Boston Celtics. 2 more days for the Panthers and the Carolina Hurricanes, who most people have as favorites in that. In fact, they're installed as minus 140. You have to lay 140 to win 100 on the Hurricanes in the series. Tough one to decide. I don't know. I wouldn't discount the Cats. I give the Panthers a better shot of beating the Hurricanes than I do the Heat of beating the Celtics. So you'll see the Heat in the NBA Finals, and the Panthers will be eliminated, swept in 4. All right, we'll see you tomorrow in the next edition of Defo on 5. Been a lot of fun. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Catch us on South Florida Live with the Defo Show. Airs live 7 to 9 every Monday through Friday, and on an endless loop. And, of course, you can also catch Mike Mayo's Lunchbox if you're interested in food and watching a man eat. Maybe, I mean, it really is. It's like Nick Cage in Leaving Las Vegas, only instead of booze, it's food. It seems like the guy's on a mission to just do himself in. So always a lot of fun. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, 12 o'clock on South Florida Live. All right, we'll see you next time on Defo on 5.